Chelsea have done it again. 1 minute you're scrolling, minding your business, and the next you see the headline, and you do the same thing every Chelsea fan does now. You sigh, you laugh, you check if it's a parody account. Then you realize it's real. Enzo Maresca is out. 18 months, 1 win in 7 league games, 5th in the table, and the club reacts like 5th place is a crime scene. Another manager gone, another reset, another trust the process funeral. And here's the part that makes it weirder. This time, the replacement isn't some superstar name. No Champions League winning aura. No I've got a documentary and a book deal energy. It's Liam Rosenior. Yes, that Liam Rosenior, 41, just managed Strasbourg. Now he's about to stand on the touchline at Stamford Bridge like it's the most normal thing in the world. If you're a Chelsea fan, you're probably asking the same questions out loud. Who? Why? And what's the plan this week? Because with Chelsea, it always feels like the plan changes based on the last 2 results and whatever mood the internet is in. Now, to be fair, Rosenior has technically been at Stamford Bridge before, as a player, and if you want to be petty, yes, there's footage of him scoring an own goal 3 years ago. So, if you do believe the signs, Chelsea have just hired a man who already knows how to put the ball in his own net at the bridge. Great start, very on brand. But jokes aside, this appointment isn't random. People think Chelsea woke up one morning and spun a wheel like, alright lads, who's up next? That's funny, but it's not what happened. Chelsea know Rosenior. They've known him because Strasbourg sits under the same ownership umbrella. This isn't a wild external hire, this is an internal promotion with a fancy background story. Like when your company says, we're hiring globally, and then pick the guy who already has a desk in the building. So the real question isn't who is he, the real question is, why him right now at Chelsea? Because this is not a normal job, this is not a normal dressing room, this is not a normal fan base, and Chelsea right now is not a normal club. This is a club where you can win a trophy and still feel like you're one bad week away from a crisis meeting. So, let's talk about Rosenior. Not the viral clips version, not the press conference soundbites, the actual story, and why Chelsea think he's the answer. First, you need to understand what kind of coach he is. Rosenior is the type of manager who looks calm even when he's not calm. He speaks like a teacher. He explains things like he expects his players to have brains, not just legs. And that alone is already different from the chaos Chelsea have been living in. He didn't come into football as some glamorous wonder kid. He was a proper pro, a reliable fullback, a manager's player, the kind you trust in tough games, because he won't do anything stupid, which is funny, because now he's walking into the most anything stupid can happen club in England. He grew up around football. His dad, Leroy, played and coached, so football wasn't this distant dream for him. It was dinner table talk, it was training ground talk, it was normal, and he picked up something early. A lot of players learn football as habits: where to run, when to drop, how to survive. Rosenior learned it as ideas. Why do teams build this way? Why do they press like that? Why does one shape beat another shape? He was the kid asking why too much. He debuts at 17 for Bristol City. Then he has that early moment every young player dreams of: a final, a goal, a trophy. For a teenager, that should feel like the start of something huge, and it was. Fulham pick him up. Suddenly, he's in the Premier League. And here's the thing about him at Fulham: he wasn't flashy, he wasn't doing tricks, he wasn't the guy you'd clip for a highlight reel, but he was comfortable on the ball at the time when fullbacks were still allowed to treat possession like a grenade. He liked playing out from the back before it became the trendy thing to brag about. Then he moves around. Reading, Ipswich on loan, different roles, different demands. But Hull City is where he really becomes a known quantity. 5 years there, promotion to the Premier League, then the FA Cup final against Arsenal. Hull don't win, but making that final matters. But just making that final matters, because when you've been inside a run like that, you understand what pressure feels like. You understand the preparation. You understand how a season can swing on one moment. He racks up nearly 400 league appearances across his career. That's not a highlight career, that's a I survived English football for years career. And players like that usually turn into one of two things: a safe coach or a smart coach. Rosenior is the second one, because even while he was still playing, he was planning the next step. He took notes, a lot of notes, training sessions, tactical ideas, patterns he noticed, what managers did well, what managers wasted time on, and when he retired, he didn't disappear. No, I'm going to find myself here. He went straight to coaching. Brighton under-23s assistant role, which is basically the best place to learn modern coaching without being eaten alive by weekly pressure. Brighton are structured, Brighton develop players, Brighton think long-term, Brighton don't panic after 2 bad results. So naturally, Chelsea are now hiring a coach built in the opposite environment. That's gonna be fun. Then he moves to Derby as a first-team coach, works under Koku, then Rooney takes over, and Rosenior becomes assistant. Here's what matters about that Derby period. It wasn't glamorous. Derby were dealing with real problems. Pressure, uncertainty, noise. It wasn't let's work on patterns in a calm environment. It was keep this thing together. When Rooney steps away, Rosenior gets the interim job. And he does well. Not he survived well. He wins games. He steadies the team. He looks like someone who belongs in the big chair. And that's when people start taking him seriously. Hull bring him back, this time as head coach. They're struggling when he arrives, down near the bottom, confidence low, the kind of situation where the stadium feels tense before the whistle even goes. He changes the mood, he gives them structure, he gives them belief. They climb. By the end of the season, they're right near the playoffs. That's not luck, that's coaching. Now, here comes the part that makes the Chelsea appointment make sense. He leaves England and goes to Strasbourg. And this is where you need to lean in, because Strasbourg isn't some random romantic adventure. Strasbourg are part of the same ownership group as Chelsea, meaning Rosenior didn't just coach there. He coached inside Chelsea's ecosystem. Same network, same people upstairs, same evaluation methods, same we want a certain style obsession. And he did something there that basically screams what he believes. He played kids, and not in a token way, not in a give the academy lad 5 minutes at the end way. He put out a lineup where every outfield player was under 23. If you're a veteran, you see that and you start packing your bags. If you're a young player, you see that and you feel 10 feet tall. And Rosenior backed it up with real football. Pressing, brave build-up, positional play, teams that don't hide, teams that try to win the ball high and keep it. They finish 7th, they qualify for Europe, he gets an extension. So, from the outside, it looks like a fast rise. From Chelsea's point of view, it looks like proof. Proof that he can develop talent, proof that he can coach a modern style, proof that he can manage a young group without losing them. And Chelsea's squad is basically a school trip with shin pads, so yes, that appeals. Now here's the twist I want to drop, because this is where the whole story changes. Chelsea didn't choose Rosenior because they suddenly fell in love with his tactics. They chose him because they already tested him, quietly, not in public, not in the headlines, behind closed doors. This wasn't a let's interview him and see. This was a we've been watching him inside our own network, we know how he works, we know how he talks, we know how he handles young players, and we know he won't fight the structure. That last part matters. Chelsea don't want a manager who walks in and says, I need 5 new signings and full control. They don't want someone who burns down the plan and builds his own. They want a coach who fits the machine, and Rosenior fits the machine. That's why the speed of his appointment makes sense. It's why the talks went very well. Because it wasn't really a first date, it was moving someone from one room to another. Now, if you're a Chelsea fan, you might be thinking, okay, cool, but does he survive the actual Chelsea experience? That's the real test. Because coaching a young team is one thing, coaching a young team while half the fan base is angry, half is terrified, and the other half is making memes after every misplaced pass? Different job. At Chelsea, the pressure is immediate. You don't get time to settle. You don't get learning season grace. You get judged week to week, minute to minute. And the dressing room isn't only young, it's expensive. Expensive players come with expensive expectations. Even if they're 21, they still know what their transfer fee was. They still know what people say about them. They still know who's trending after a bad performance. So Rosenior's biggest challenge isn't tactics, it's authority. Because he's walking into a club where managers get treated like temporary apps. Download, use for 6 months, delete, new update. So, how does he build control? He does it the only way you can at a club like that. Clear rules, clear roles, clear standards. His teams press hard. If you don't run, you don't play. Simple. But he also gives freedom when they have the ball. Work for the team and you get trust in possession. Players usually respond to that because it feels fair. And he's a communication coach. He explains, he teaches, he doesn't just scream. That matters with young squads, because young squads don't respond to fear the same way old-school teams did. They respond to clarity. Now, tactically, expect a few things. He likes build-up, he likes structure, he likes the idea of controlling games instead of surviving them. He's used different shapes, but the principles stay consistent. Build from the back, create overloads, press high, win the ball early, attack with intent. And that sounds perfect for Chelsea on paper, because Chelsea have technical players, they have athleticism, they have kids who want to prove themselves. But here's the uncomfortable question: do they have patience? Because modern football takes time to drill, patterns take time, pressing takes time, trust takes time. Chelsea fans don't do time. Chelsea ownership don't do time. Chelsea media doesn't do time. So Rosenior needs results early. Not because results are everything, because results buy you breathing room. You can lose playing well and still get slaughtered at Chelsea. You can draw while dominating and people will say it's not good enough. So he needs something fast. A clear identity, a couple statement wins, a squad that looks like it knows what it's doing. And honestly, he might have an advantage. Expectations for him are weird. If Chelsea hired a serial winner, fans would expect trophies instantly. With Rosenior, the expectation is more basic. Please make us look like a team. Please stop the weekly confusion. Please stop the vibe swings. If he delivers that, he buys time. If he doesn't, he becomes another name on the list and Chelsea move on like nothing happened. And I'll be real with you, part of me likes the appointment because it's finally consistent with what Chelsea have been building. A young squad needs a coach who understands development, not only survival. A modern recruitment model needs a coach who works with the structure, not against it. But another part of me thinks it's risky, because Chelsea aren't a development club emotionally. They're a demand club. They demand wins, they demand trophies, they demand perfection from players who are still learning. So, the question is simple. Is Chelsea hiring Rosenior because they want to build something stable? Or because they want someone who won't argue when the next big decision comes down from upstairs? And that's not me hating. That's me watching the last few years and being honest. Either way, we're about to find out. Charlton away in the Cup is the first taste, then the league schedule hits, then the real noise starts, and then we see the only thing that matters at Chelsea, not the press conference, not the plans, not the vibes, results. So, let me ask you this, do you think this is finally the smart pivot, or is this another chapter in the same old chaos, with a new face standing in front of it?